What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Bob Dylan and the Band's, the 1974 live recordings. 27 discs to begin with. It has been a joy to pull out discs in small batches as I make it through. We're now down to the last 8. Today, going to discuss 2 discs. I think I'm getting sick or I'm losing my voice or something, so I'll hopefully won't have to clear my throat too much. Discs 20 and 21, 2 shows, but not complete, unfortunately, from Seattle, Washington, February 9th, the afternoon and the evening shows, which is a full 9 days after the previous shows from Madison Square Garden. We're now recording these officially for the sake of putting together an album, the album that would be Before the Flood. I do think the sound quality, while it has become more consistent and you kind of know what to expect as we go through these shows, I do think we've lost a little bit of the character and the flavor of some of the early recordings. The early recordings were kind of inconsistent, and I think a lot of that probably had to do with the venue that they were playing in. And sometimes Robbie Robertson would be really, really up forward in the mix. Sometimes it would be an organ, sometimes a piano player, sometimes the bass. There were even throughout a show, the sound would vary sometimes, especially early on in the first electric set, from song to song, as maybe they figured out the dynamics of a room. And that gave it some interesting flavor, and even songs that maybe were not performed wildly different in energy or approach as the previous show. The mix would usually bring something out that was pretty interesting. I found that by this point, the mix is pretty consistent. And the biggest loss is Robbie Robertson's up front, center, almost co-leader with Dylan energy. The guitar energy early on in the earlier discs, much more enjoyable. I think he's much more present in the mix. And then at other times, the bass would be more present or the organ would be more present. And here it really is almost like a traditional show where when it's time for them to solo or when it's time for a particular song, it seems like they're upped in the mix predictably instead of it's a random bass presence there during this song that we would get in earlier shows. So that's a complaint. As far as the show's missing songs, going forward, I'm not sure that's going to be something that's going to hold me back from wanting to listen to these, because it would be nice to only have 40 minutes instead of a full 80 of stuff to listen to. So that doesn't really, bother me. I'm going to discuss these 2 shows, then I'm going to rank them among the other 19 that I've already done. Of these 2, I would say Disc 20 is my least favorite, even though I think it does have the better set list, mainly because in the acoustic section of this, we get our very first She Belongs to Me. We also get the return of the Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll. We also get the return of the Wedding Song. 3 great acoustic songs, 2 of which were performed early and dropped, 1 of which is now performed for the first time. The only problem is the Hattie Carroll, I'm down for every single Hattie Carroll, down for every single Wedding Song, down for every single She Belongs to Me, but there's just a lot of really loud, I don't know if aggressive is the right word. The performance is very yelly. Dylan's in a very shouty mode. I like to imagine that he gives the band, literally the band, a word before every show and says, don't literally interpret this word, but channel this word through your music. And this one seems like the word is loud for the 20th show. Everything seems to be very much, where are we playing? The Seattle Center Coliseum. Everything seems to be bigger, like we're aiming to be bigger, like we're aiming to impress. My understanding is these shows didn't sell too well. These were maybe some of the most underperforming ticket sales of the tour for whatever reason. And it almost seems like he's trying to convince the people there that it was worth their time. So weird energy. Not bad, but just not as fine-tuned as maybe some of the other shows. We're missing 5 songs off this one. We're missing Rainy Day Women, It Ain't Me, Ballad of a Thin Man, Like a Rolling Stone, and the second, Most Likely You Go Your Way. So we get a good, healthy electric, some acoustic, some more electric. Most Likely You Go Your Way sounds confident. They're coming out strong. Without a doubt, whatever we've lost in sort of nuance, we've definitely gained in confidence. The band knows what they're doing. And at times when they click, like the opening, most likely you go your way, it works. Lay Lady Lay, very yelly. Yeah, just very loud, going at it really big. No nuance here. Tom Thumb's Blues, very loud, also very bouncy. This is one song that just always, no matter how it starts off in the first verse, by the final verses, just takes on a character of its own and is always worth checking out. They're always bringing something interesting to this. I think the combination of just what the lyrics are selling and the way the band chooses to interpret it feels like depth gets added as the song goes on, and the band just becomes this more complete like machine. The groove, there's a big rolling aspect to it. But Robbie kind of gets lost in the mix. I like it when Robbie was a little more up in the mix. Then we jump to an All Along the Watchtower, very focused, very purposeful. This seems very streamlined. Knocking on Heaven's Door, very full sounding. Don't get that necessary sort of step down that they would sometimes give it, like we're just going to reel things in a little. I don't feel like things are being reeled in. For the acoustic set, we get a She Belongs to Me, The Times They Are A-Changin', Lonesome Death, Don't Think Twice, and Wedding Song. Great song selections. I just think he's a little going at it too hard, a little yelly, very, very present, kind of blustery, kind of high energy. Just the vibe is he's performing to a large crowd and doesn't feel like he can be intimate because it's a large crowd. I don't know if that's the case, but that's the energy that's being put forth. We get a really nice Forever Young, which we finally get some really nice Robbie Robertson guitar. And then the last song that's included on this one is Highway 61 Revisited, which one of the treats, one of the songs, if it's in a set list, it's going to be a highlight. It's going to be good. The band brings great energy to these performances, has this almost bluesy locomotive vibe to it that's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I wrote my notes for this. My last note for this when I was listening to it is track listing, set list over performance. The set list is what carry this. The performance is not bad, but there aren't those little eyebrows or those little just sort of interesting interpretations other than maybe just like Tom Thumb's Blues and Highway 61 that elevates this disc. So that would be disc 20. My least favorite of the two Seattle, which means 21 is my most favorite of the two Seattle. This one only has 10 songs. And I actually like the setup of it. Reminds me of some Neil Young, particularly a Neil Young disc that was, what is it, Odie and Budokan, I think it is, and maybe one more, in which he has like an acoustic first half and an electric last half. And that's what this is. We get 5 acoustic songs, we get 5 electric songs. The acoustic songs we get are The Times They Are A-Changin', Just Like a Woman, Wedding Song, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, Ma. A lot of urgency to these performances. Still kind of loud, but maybe the word for this one is urgency. Dylan seems like there's some urgency. The Wedding Song has a lot of urgency to it. Don't Think Twice, a lot of urgency to it. I think the harmonica solo in particular in Don't Think Twice, fantastic. As we've gone through these shows, these harmonica solos seem almost more and more like he's trying to shred on the harmonica. There's just an energy and an attack to them that is fantastic. Maybe the one thing that saves the more over-the-top urgent acoustic sets are his harmonica playing. It's All Right, Ma also is really nice. It seems like it's maybe a little more reeled in, a little more subdued. It's still got that fast pace, but by the time we reach that song, like all of his bluster is gone, and I think he's able to focus a little more on the It's All Right, Ma. Always good. Never a bad choice. For the electric set, we get a really nice Forever Young. Another one of the surprisingly consistent. I would have thought going into this experience listening to, I think Forever Young has almost been on every single one of these, even the ones that have been shortened. Maybe not early on, right? Was it around in the beginning? I think it was around in the beginning. Sorry, I got so close to that. Yeah, it was. I would have been surprised. I mean, I would never have thought that Forever Young would be one of the most consistently surprising performances on this tour, but it is, once again, just a solid Forever Young. Then we get another Highway 61 Revisited. The drumming on every single one of these, both the one from the 20th and the one from here. Helm is just killing it. This is almost like he was told to like be extra on the drums. Like, dude, if you have to solo, the bounce that is provided, the funkiness that is provided, that sort of almost has this off-kilter rhythm that just makes, it's got a great groove, but it's also kind of uncomfortable and just like feels like it might fall apart, but you know it's never going to. Absolutely amazing. Nice swampy rock guitar energy in this. Highway 61 Revisited. When all is said and done, I'm going to like review these and talk about the highlights and the lowlights and things like that. Highway 61, always a highlight. It was one of the songs that was chosen to be on the sampler. I think it was one of the first versions. Great. Check out Highway 61 Revisited. Fantastic. Really nice, like a Rolling Stone, that Bob kind of, his performance kind of undermines. Starts off really nice and confident. Oh, going back to that Highway 61 Revisited, starts off with just Robbie on guitar, kind of setting it up with some chords before the whole band jumps in. Really nice. The intro to Like a Rolling Stone is fantastic. Confident sounding, nice piano entry. The band sounds kind of focused, like they're going to rein it in early so that they can like allow it to build. But then Bob comes in and he is just yelling, just going hard. The choruses do get really nice and really big, like stadium anthemic. And then we go back into the verses. That musical drop works really well. Bob is just a little too up on the red almost the entire time. Maybe could have benefited from reeling it in a little bit, but we are a month plus into this tour, so who knows what shape his voice is in. We get a Most Likely You'll Go Your Way, the only one on this disc, as we don't get the opener. Sounds solid. And then a closing, Blowing in the Wind, which I'm torn about. These full band, not really sure. There's a lot of good bounce energy. I'm not sure if this full band, over the top, Blowing in the Wind energy works for me. Forever Young, they managed to make it work, just because we already had the fast version, the slow version of that. So we were mixed up from the beginning as far as the studio versions go. But this, the Blowing in the Wind, like they're really going for it. Bob's really yelling it. It's very anthemic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And for this one, that's my opinion of this version. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't, over the course of like the 3.5 minutes. So interesting. But I do like this one better. I like the 5-song acoustic opening and then the 5 electric. The Highway 61 is fantastic. The Like a Rolling Stone turns out to be fantastic. And I like those acoustic songs. So this would be my favorite of the 2 Seattle shows, despite not having as strong an acoustic set list. But those are my thoughts on those. If I had to rank these among all the other ones I've done so far, they're down towards the bottom. They might even be lower than this, but I have them way at like 17 and 18. I'm actually giving them like props for having like the shorter set list. I think there will be times when maybe I'm just driving across town or something and I'm not heading up to like Austin or heading on a long road trip, and maybe I only want a shorter dose of Bob. I think these might be something I might reach for. I don't know. We'll find out once I make it through this entire set. Only 2 more stops. A stop in the Bay Area, and we got the final run down at the LA Forum before we are finished with this awesome experience. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these, if you've checked them out, thoughts on Dylan, the band, all that kind of stuff. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again. They released a sampler of this. I don't think they sell it. It's only available on streaming. It's meant to be listened to for free because it's on streaming, and that's the only place it is. Go listen to it. It's fantastic. If you're not a hardcore Dylan fan, it might be the only thing you need. Probably don't need all 27 discs, but it's worth checking out even if you're just a casual Dylan fan because it's fantastic. All right. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.